My name is Gary Bonnell, and the subject today, the conversation today is about manifesting in this new cycle of unity. And the reason why I believe this is important is the old system of how we move through life began to change in the 10 years between 2001 and 2011. And the reason for that is that every 13,000 years we enter a new cycle, and we alternate from a duality cycle to a unity cycle. In duality, we are individuated. And what I mean by that is that our mind is no longer completely connected to other minds. We tend to see ourselves as individuals. In unity cycles, we tend to see ourselves as belonging to an entire collective. Moving into this unity cycle is particularly difficult, and the reason for this. The physical human experience, the mind is comprised of your physical body, which is instinctually intelligent, your spirit, which is strategically evolving, constantly evolving, and your soul, which is basically the consciousness side of it. And we are like all other animals on the earth. We came from very unusual beginnings in a swamp somewhere as the earth began to cool. And our bodies have evolved through millions and millions of years. However, the difference between humans and the rest of spirit-based life is that our bodies and our spirit have become soul dependent. And what that means, if suddenly your soul left your body or disconnected from your body, your spirit could keep your physical body alive as long as the nourishment it had and the liquids, the hydration it had, were necessary to keep the body alive. And we can keep a body alive medically under those conditions, but the soul, oftentimes in a coma or a vegetative state, the soul has departed, has gone on to the next incarnational cycle. So the difference with us is that we don't connect with the rest of nature because of our dependence on this eternal soul. And that's changing. In the Akashic records, it shows in around 600 or 6,700, probably on a Tuesday afternoon, because Mondays are really not great days. But on a Tuesday afternoon, 6,700 Gregorian, these souls, the eternal souls that have been on the earth for millennium, millions and millions of years actually, are now leaving. They're going on to another system. And what's going to happen over the next several decades, so for the next maybe 30 years, is that people are going to become, our spirits rather, are going to begin to ascend. And when a spirit ascends, it moves into the position basically of soul level. So in the year 6,700, on a Tuesday, humans are going to have a body, a spirit, and then a residing spirit, meaning a spirit that has evolved to soul level, a soul born of earth. And that's going to basically give the earth back to nature, as opposed to having eternal souls here who are pretty much calling most of the shots. So this particular cycle of unity is very different. In past cycles, we basically left the duality cycle into the unity cycle together, collectively. And that meant that you had no choice. You simply didn't have a choice. You joined with the rest of the spirits on the planet and souls on the planet, and you moved into that unity cycle. Now we have a choice. And in this particular beginning of this particular unity cycle, the biggest issue is to individually release conflict. Now, we only need to look at the last 100 years to know that we are releasing a whole bunch of conflict on the planet. It's actually pretty amazing that we haven't destroyed ourselves at this point. And when we move into, when you awaken, when you become enlightened and awaken, your spirit then has the opportunity to advance to soul level. Now, when your eternal soul leaves this system, it takes with it all of the information of all of the spirits that it's incarnated with for, you know, 1,000,000 years, let's say. And the spirit that rises to soul level has the information of all the souls it has ever incarnated with. So this planet is going to almost overnight heal itself. If you can imagine the power of a spirit that has become a soul, if you can imagine that spirit started as when two cells, single cells, joined together to respond to the circumstances and conditions of their environment. And when they joined together, they created an energy field. And then when those cells died, that energy field continued and it sought another life form. It sought another form of life. And then it began to multiply into more and more complex life forms. And so your spirit has been every form of life on the planet. And imagine the power, that the unbelievable information your spirit has. And when it ascends to soul level, imagine the power of that spirit. Not any more than we have right now, but it's going to be pure. There won't be any outside influence. There won't be any dependence on a higher form of energy. It's going to be an amazing period for the earth. And probably the humans of that period are the ones who are going to then join in the universe with other beings. So we have a couple of mutations that have to happen before we the souls all leave, and that's actually started to happen already. So the reason why I thought today's subject was important enough to give this time to, and to ask others to have time to share. I'm still admitting people, so sorry. There, okay. So basically, manifesting in an age of unity, and we crossed the transition point from duality to unity in those 10 years between 2001 and 2011. The Mayans had 2012 as like an ending and a beginning. A lot of people, a lot of different psychics, a lot of different seers and shaman and everything had targeted that period as like a new beginning. And it truly is a new beginning. The problem is the mindset. And today, what I'd like to talk about, there are 3 keys to this. And one of them is the understanding of what ritual is in your life. And then the understanding of a new mindset. And then the concept of releasing all your inner conflict. And that in and of itself, we're going to leave that conflict releasing part to the end of the program. It can get a little interesting for sure. So let's begin. You are not trained to have self-confidence. When you're a child, when you're born and your parents are concerned about your safety and they're concerned about your progress and they watch you and they try to make sure that you have what you need, etc. They don't train you to be self-confident. You hear a lot of don't do it that way, you're doing it wrong, don't do that. Oh my God, the kid's about to kill himself, you know. There's just a lot of conversation about you're not doing it right. And so we begin to early defer ourselves to a parental type image. And humanity has done this for a very long time when they create gods and goddesses that they then defer to. So not only as children are we overwhelmed by the parenting, but as adults, we set it up so that we then have to be overwhelmed by those greater beings. Most people who have heard me talk about religion know that I believe all religion, all of it, is spiritual theater, basically. And so when you really start to get it that you've been trained to not have confidence, you begin to also release some of those conflicts that you had around that as a child, around your training. And when I say confidence, I mean you knowing you and you believing you, and you self-validating, and you looking to yourself for all the clues and cues that you need to move through life, as opposed to looking to others. So basically, knowing that a lack of confidence keeps you really from fully connecting with and fully understanding your power, your personal power. And we are told over and over again, you know, that we have a gender, and that gender has to perform in a certain way. That gender relates to life in a certain way. We're told, you know, that we're raised in a socioeconomic situation that we either continue in or descend from or ascend from. And most of it has to do with our lack of acknowledgement of what we are as a being. And earlier I talked about how spirits and souls, as they come into to a human form at the moment of concept, that you're a threefold being. You have this incredible instinctual intelligence, this powerful spirit that's been every form of life on the planet, and you have this eternal soul. And you know, people hear the word eternal, and it really means you have been here, you have been in existence as consciousness from the beginning of time, well, not time, but from the beginning of all of this. Your consciousness is like a particle within the mind of Creator. You have access to all that information. What you are is an amazing being that has so many boundaries within its mind that have been placed there through your training in this particular timeline, but also of the training that you had in previous incarnations. And when we drop a physical body, our spirit drops a physical body, it retains the strategies that it used in this incarnation. And then when it goes into its next incarnation, it brings those strategies with it. And we're going to talk a little bit about this in relationship to conflict, because if there's a lot of time between incarnations, your spirit the strategies your spirit has developed in a past incarnation might actually present as a conflict in the current timeline. And the reason that is because, you know, technologies have changed. If usually about 30 years between incarnations, but let's say it's 100 years, the technology has changed and the strategies you had in that previous incarnation no longer apply. And it becomes like a conflict because a part of you wants to continue it because it worked before. So we're really, each human really has a difficult hurdle to overcome to actually be able to perform at the highest level. And a lot of it just has to do with training, and a lot of it has to do with family, of course, and friends and society and culture, etc. So in our conversation today, I think it's important that we keep in mind that we are not limited in any way, that who you are and what you are is so important to this particular time and this particular place. And basically, if you didn't exist, then there would be an imbalance in the energy of this planet. So you're here for a very specific period of time, and should that time be cut short, or then it does change things. It's like all wars change things. It changes the collective mind. It changes humanity's relationship with nature. So it's real important that you understand how powerful each person is. And then I'm going to get to more of that in a little bit, but I'm going to start with the subject of ritual. Now, when people hear the idea of ritual, they envision many different things. People chanting, people, doing incense, and, doing the pluribus unum, and doing rituals that are meant to bring about a certain, I don't know, understanding maybe. But most of the ritual that you do begins when you open your eyes in the morning. We are animals. We love having a system that works. We love, if something worked yesterday, then it's going to work even better today because we're aware that it works. So basically, everything we do from the time our eyes open and until we go to sleep at night, it's all just a ritual. And if that's true, if everything is ritualized because you wear your watch on one wrist, you put your pants on one leg at a time, you brush your teeth in a certain way, you comb your hair, you clothe yourself, you go to work, you or hobbies or whatever you're doing, it's all based on ritual. And so how do we take that energy of the familiar, the thing that works, how do we then expand the concept of ritual outward so that we can then we can use that to enhance our own power, to increase our spiritual power and our soul, bringing them together in a clear collaboration. When I was young, we were poor. We didn't have a lot, and I would watch my friends, my elementary school friends, and some of them had bikes, and some of them really, dressed really nicely. Some of them seemed, very present in everything. They seemed to have so much going for them. And as a kid, I blamed all of the stuff that was going on in my family on the fact that we were poor. And my stepfather was a pretty mean old dude too. So And so every day after school, I would change out of my school clothes into my play clothes, and I would go out. There was this huge tree in our backyard, and a chinaberry tree, and I would stomp around that tree, and I would say over and over again out loud and scream it sometimes, that when I grow up, I'm going to be rich. And I would say it over and over again. And every day there was literally a circle of beaten down grass around the base of that tree. And a lot of people don't get that the rituals they do in their life are really the things that limit them or enhance them. And it's like, there was a book that came out, 30 years ago, the seven principles of success, or the seven things successful people do. And it all is around how to change the rituals in your life, and also how to shift your mindset, because the ritual and the mindset are really linked. The ritual is our physical presence, our physical being. We work through our physical being. The mindset is what drives those actions. And so it's real important in being able to understand how you manifest through the rituals that you do in your daily life. And it's extremely important to really take a deep look at that, as opposed to saying, yeah, you're right, I do ritualize certain things. And you can go through a whole list of it, but it's real important to connect ritual and mindset. If you feel limited in any way, they're good. Nobody else is waiting. If you feel limited in any way, it's because the rituals reinforce your mindset, and the mindset works the rituals. So those boundaries that you've placed in your own way, those things that keep you from having what you want when you want it, are driven by then the base conflict of it. So the ritual, mindset, and conflict, and it keeps this cycle going. The ritual is satisfying. It actually feeds us energy. The mindset directs the flow of that energy. And the conflict, well, let's take a moment and talk about conflict. You are layers of energy. You, at your very core, there is this incredible vibrancy, this radiance. And you can, if you look at that radiance, if you could see it, you would say, well, that's my spirit, or that's my soul, or that's the collaboration of my soul and spirit. And then out from that, then the energy from your core becomes more and more dense until you have a physical structure. And then after the physical structure, there are layers of energy that move out from you. And those layers are bands of expansion and contraction. And one layer is a very dense layer. The next layer is a very light layer. It's loosely packed. The more your conflicts are present, the denser those layers of energy are. And as they move out, they usually move out about 3 meters from the body, about 9 to 10 feet. Now, if you say out loud, you call something to you, I want this, or I command this. If you have a lot of conflict, those conflicts exist within those bands of energy that radiate out from your physical structure. So when you get back the command, it doesn't look like your command as much as it looks like a combination of all those conflicts that command has to move through and away from you to come back to you. So a lot of times people will say, well, I don't know why I'm getting this. This isn't what I wanted. This is not what I asked for. Well, it's because those bands of energy around you literally, they color that command. They put a spin on it. It's like, it's like you're getting what you are. And what I mean by that is, these bands of energy out here, that's how people respond to you. And that is oftentimes the pureness of what you are is in those bands of energy, not necessarily in the ideas you have about who you are or what you are. It's about those conflicts that you hold. And we'll really get into that at the end of this. So basically, ritual, you have to change your rituals. Everything from putting your watch on the other wrist, or putting your shoes on differently, or instead of one leg at a time, set your pants at the end of the bed and jump and put both in at the same time. I mean, I'm tempting humor, but basically it comes down to that. How each day is mapped out is extremely important. So when you're in bed and you're lying there and your eyes are open and you're going, okay, another day in paradise, yay. I wonder what today brings. If you began your day with a ritual, within your consciousness, within your awareness, a ritual, and that ritual could be anything from recognizing that the elemental forces of Earth are actually working for you. The recognition that the angelics constantly in communication with you and guiding you. The recognition that you have this one being that has been with you through all your incarnations, and you might think of that being as an avatar, or the master of a soul group, or however they want to word that. Many people in the Western cultures connect with the avatars like Kutumi and Dakwal and Sananda, which are very Eastern avatars. And the reason for that is, I believe, is that we try to bridge the collective mind tries to bridge itself through all of these different inspirations and attractions from these masters. And we get to work individually, and we have the joy and the guidance of having them work with us. So when I get up in the morning, when I wake up, I say, gather around me. I'm sorry I don't know all your names personally. I don't know how to connect with every one of you as individuals, but I know you're there. I want to thank you ahead of time through gratitude for all that you will do. Please clear my path and make kindness my relationship to the world. And I go through this whole mental thing. Then I become extremely aware of how I then place myself in life, and meaning how I get up, how I begin to prepare for the day, what my thoughts are about the day, my mental to-do list of things. And then as the day unfolds, you get to alter that. And then at the end of the day, as you're lying there, be there in gratitude, not knowing all the things that were done on your behalf, but totally acknowledging that these forces that help us through life, that actually bring life to us, have actually worked on your behalf every moment. And then I ask those same beings to guide my sleep, to awaken me to different dimensions, to adjacent realities, to guide my spirit as it releases its hold on the body and allows the body to relax and rest. So creating your ritual around understanding what you are, is a very personal thing. It's something that the language you use will be very powerful to you, as opposed to adopting someone else's language or even technique. But it comes to the understanding of what you are. And to me, that's the crux of this whole thing, is knowing what you are.